Hello then, I'm Lucy Shrimpton, the Sleep Nanny, and my book is out today. So go on over to Amazon and grab yourself a copy. Anybody that purchases now between now and 2 p.m. today is entitled to a free gift from me, which is 3 whole months in my members club. So you'll be able to get on the members calls with me and you'll be able to ask me questions, anything you've learned from the book that you're trying out. If you've got any questions, you'll be able to get direct access to me in the members club. So it's well worth having that by purchasing today. So a bit about me if you don't know me. I'm the Sleep Nanny. I basically help you lovely parents get your little ones to sleep, and everything I do is very gentle. So all my philosophies are gentle, proven, evidence-based strategies that don't require leaving the child to cry in order to get them to sleep. So I want to go to questions really as soon as possible because we've got about 30 minutes roughly today. So I want to get through all the questions that I can. Let me see if I can see where those are because I know I've got some help with this, but I don't know where to see the questions. There should be on your screen, there should be a chat bit to the right-hand side. So do post your questions in there. And someone or somehow I will see those, I'm sure. Let's have a look, see if I can see that now. Okay, let's see. No, I can't see that. Don't see it. Okay, I'm going to see if I can work this out and see where the questions are and stuff. It looks like I'm offline, but it says I am live, so I don't know. I don't understand. Hopefully we'll see some questions in a minute. Let's see if there's any on Facebook or Twitter. So if you are tuned in, I'm just looking to see where these questions are coming in and see if I can give you guys some answers. Wait a minute. I might need to get a bit of technical support in here in a minute. Okay, let's see.
Yes, I was just about to call you. Yeah.
We are live, aren't we?
Go to Create a Studio, go to Live Events, and then what? Live Control Room.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
I'm in there.
She's in there now. Has she got any questions in there?
I can hear you, by the way. Are we actually live? Because this says I am, but the other screen says I'm not.
Is she live at the moment? Hello?
Anyone watching, if this is going out to you, we're just having a few technical difficulties and making sure this is all working properly.
Is there some comments? On the bottom of where? Yeah, you are live.
I am live.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, she's got the comments. Yeah.
How come I, can I play that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like we are live and we are good. So I can see some of you are on there. So just to reiterate then, I'm the Sleep Nanny and it's my book launch today. Can we get the noise out of the room? And I'm here to answer your questions. So on the right hand side of your screen there, you should see a comments box. Please do type your questions in there, anything you want me to answer. They should pop up and I should be able to see those, and then I can throw you some answers over. So I'd love to be giving you some tips right now this morning. So any question, burning question, what would most help you that you could do tonight to make things better in your home at bedtime? Just pop your question in the comment box and pop that over to me. Try and make it as brief as you can, because I don't want to sit here and read too much. I want a quick fire and give you some good answers. And also don't forget, today you get 3 whole months of free membership in my members club if you purchase my book before 2 p.m. So jump on over to Amazon, and if you search Sleep Nanny, you'll see my book at the top. It looks exactly like this. And on there, you will obviously be able to purchase a paperback like this exact copy right here. Or you can get the Kindle version if you prefer. And I will send you 3 months of free membership. So you can start trying out some of the tips in here. You can start on a plan and you can ask me questions. And actually in the back of the book, I do have a section where you can complete your own sleep plan. You fill in the blanks here and work through these things. So if you're working on that and you have any questions as you go along, then you can join one of the members calls and you can ask me about that. Let me know how that's going, and I'll help you as well with that. So that's a great feature in the book. Actually, I really like that, because it gives you an actual piece you can fill in, put the answers in that are right for you, and it gives you a bit of a commitment, I think, to it as well. So rather than I'll get around to that sometime, you've actually got, right, this is my child's age right now, this is the date right now, and to do this to suit my child right now, we need to do what we write in here. So yeah, you can fill in all of these sections. This is just in the back. I call it the unique sleep plan, or USP for short. So there's a great feature in there. So do we have any questions? Let me have a look. Here we go. So I've got a question here. Any tips for parents who have more than one child, such as twins who wake each other up? Yes, I've seen that one a few times, and I've helped some families with twins, especially if they're sharing a room. It can be very difficult. I've worked with twin toddlers who getting out of bed constantly, and just as one settles, the other one gets up, and it's a nightmare. So twins, if they have to be in the same room, that's fine. If you are in a position that you can separate them temporarily, just while you get them sleeping well, then put them back in the same room. That can help, particularly if you have one that sleeps okay and it's one twin that's more the problem, because the one that's sleeping well is just getting sabotaged all the time. So separating them temporarily can help. If that's not an option and they need to stay in the same room, then I would have them on the same sleep plan, bedtime routine together, going into the bedroom at the same time together, having a story, tucking them in. And if you're working through a plan where you stay in the room with them, that's fine. You can stay in there, be between them, make sure they stay in bed, and be in the room. If you're leaving the room, it might be a bit more difficult, because you might find one gets up and follows you. If they're babies, obviously they're not going to do that. They're going to stay in their cots, and you might find that you're just doing a bit of soothing with one and then soothing the other, lots of shushing. Either which way you go with that, one of the key things to remember is not to be too stimulating. So whether you're talking about a baby or a toddler here, if you're really stimulating and you're in the room and you're fussing around and it's very apparent that you're there, it's just going to disturb them, and it's going to stimulate them, and it's going to make them want to see what you're up to, really. So by just being very dull and boring, totally uninteresting in the room, all you're doing is being present. So if they look, they can see that you're there. A bit of shushing, they can hear that you're there, so they can close their eyes and have that reassurance that you're there, or a little bit of intermittent gentle touch as well to reassure them that you're there. The same really goes for singletons as well as twins and siblings. but it is particularly challenging if you have two in the same room. So my first tip then would be separate them temporarily if you can, and then put them back in the same room as soon as as soon as they've improved. If you have them in the same room, then that's absolutely fine. Work through some strategies with them together at the same time. Sorry, I'm having questions pointed out at me, so it's a bit distracting. Let me have a quick look here. Question, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm gonna work through these bit by bit. We've got one come through on Twitter by the look of it. Hi Lucy, what do you feel is the most common mistake parents make when trying to develop a sleep routine? Good question. Well, it's probably different at different ages. One thing that parents maybe overlook when they develop a sleep routine is they keep the feeding as the last thing they do before bed. And the problem that can cause, and this can go right on through toddlerhood, is the feeding to sleep association. So if feeding is the last thing you do, whether that's bottle or breast or even just a cup or whatever it is they have, if feeding is the last thing you do, there's a lot of chance that your baby's going to fall asleep on that feed, or toddler. I hear a lot of toddlers and preschoolers take a drink into the cot with them or into bed with them, and so they come to rely on that and need that to get to sleep. That can start to cause a problem. The other downside to that as well is it leaves, if it's milk, it leaves a milky residue on their teeth, which is really bad for their teeth. So you want toothbrushing to be the last thing if they do have milk. So my tip for what mistakes they make: feeding to sleep is a very common one. Bathing is great, it's really soothing. It doesn't have to be done every night. What I do say to people is, with a bedtime routine, to make sure you do the same steps in the same order every night. That doesn't mean you have to have a bath every night, but once you have done the bath, or if it's not a bath, a wash or whatever, from then, make sure you do the same steps in the same order. And another one people make the mistake of is they have this nice calming wind down session, they have a bath, they get them in their pajamas, it's all nice and calm, and then they go, that's upstairs, and then they go downstairs, and then they have some milk, and then maybe the telly's on, and it just kind of disrupts the routine and the flow. So once you've got them nice and calm and you've gone to the bath or wash stage of bedtime routine, they're into their pajamas, they need to go into their room, or the room that they're going to sleep in. And in that room, you want it to be quite dimly lit, enough so that you can see to read a story if you need to, and be in the room that your child is going to sleep in. Finish off the routine there. So the same steps, that might be a story, a lullaby, bit of time with you. If there is a bottle or a breastfeed, that's fine. Take the toothbrush in with you if they're cutting teeth or have teeth. They'll probably just chew on it, but that's not a problem. You just want to get those teeth coated with a bit of toothpaste, not milk. And finish up the routine there, and then into the bed or into the cot, nice and calm, nice and quiet. Same steps, same order every time. Let's see if I've got any other questions here, because I don't want to get through as many as I can. There's that one. More than one child, yep. I'm just looking on all the streams here. I've got some comments over here as well. Okay, back to school routine, that's a good one. So loads of little ones have gone back to school or just started school, like my son, just starting school this week. And actually going back to school after the summer break, or even just starting school, it's tiring. You know, they've had the summer where they can, if they're a bit older, maybe sleep in, or they can just snooze off during the day. Maybe you've been out for the day and your little one's just nodded off in the car on the way home, because they can. But when they're at school, they're on the go all day. And even, it's actually really worth noting, even if your child, like mine, has been in preschool for the last few years and done longer days, you know, an 8-hour day maybe, they've been there for, you know, all day, and then you think, well, school's only a short day, it's 9 to 3, it's, you know, it's much shorter. it's amazing how tiring they do find that day. It's new, it's different. The classes is bigger. The way it all flows is different. They do find it tiring. So it's mentally tiring. So your child is likely to be more tired than usual, even if they're just doing half days this week. So my advice to you on that is early nights. Never be afraid of an early night. Parents are really afraid of, oh no, my child wakes at 6. If I put them to bed an hour earlier, surely they're going to wake at 5. It doesn't work that way, I promise you. They'll still wake at the same time. If 6 is the time that your child wakes up, you're still going to wake at 6, even if you put them to bed an hour earlier. So don't be afraid of an early bedtime. You'll actually probably find their sleep better. They probably have less disturbances in the night and may even sleep in a little later. So early to bed is the best tip I can give you. If your child comes home from school and they are really sleepy, even if they nod off on the way home from school, if there's a little bit of a drive, that's okay. Don't worry about them having a sleep late in the day. Just make it a short one. So 20 minutes maybe at the most. I mean, I wouldn't let them go more than half an hour, but just that little cat nap, if it's at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, it's not going to be a problem. You shouldn't see any difficulty getting to bed at bedtime because they've had that little cat nap. It's just that their body needs a little bit of extra rest because it's coping with a big change. That's not going to be long term. That's going to be a week or 2 at the most, and then they'll probably get used to it, adapt and settle in a bit more to that. So early to bed and little cat nap if necessary is not a problem. I think yesterday I picked my son up. He stayed for lunch his first week, and he fell asleep on the way home in the car. And so I just stayed in the car, let him have a little bit. He probably only had about 15 minutes, but he needed it, and it's fine. And he went to bed early last night, and he slept brilliantly. So it's definitely worth doing. So that's one of my tips with back to school or starting school. It's usually the school starters that struggle the most because it's all very new to them as well. So I've got another question here. Let's see. Advice for a 6-month-old who's fully weaned but still wakes frequently in the night. Okay, so waking frequently in the night, he or she, I don't know, I'll say he. He's probably not hungry. If he's 6 months old, he's fully weaned, he's getting enough calories in the day, he's in good health, good weight, no concerns there, then the chances are he's not waking through hunger. And you're probably there going, no, yeah, it's not hunger, I know that. And he's waking frequently, so he's certainly not going to be hungry every time he wakes. The chances are he's looking for a bit of help to get to sleep. So the first thing I'd suggest you do is look at bedtime. How does your 6-month-old go down at bedtime? Do you put him into the cot awake? Does he go in a bit drowsy? Does he go in completely asleep? If he's going in already asleep, so you're getting him to sleep maybe in your arms or through a feed, or sometimes they pace around the house, that kind of thing. If you're getting him to sleep and then putting him in the cot, then he's going to wake, because we all have these partial arousals in the night. We partially wake and we nod back off. When he wakes, he's going to become all awake and go, I don't know what to do. And he's going to feel lost, and he's going to think, okay, whatever you did at bedtime, I need you to come and do that because I can't get back to sleep. If you're thinking, no, he goes in awake, so it can't be that. What I would say to you is, how awake? Does he fall asleep within 5 minutes? If he's falling asleep within 5 minutes of you putting him in the cot, then he's too drowsy. So what you're doing is you're getting him too much of the way there. So when he goes in, he doesn't have much to do. He's got, there's no fight in it really. It's like, oh yeah, okay. And then he just nods on off. So it's deceiving. They can have their eyes wide awake, go into the cot, eyes wide, and you think, yeah, my child's awake, clearly. I promise you, they're actually in the early stages of sleep at that point. So make sure your child is a bit more awake in that case. You want them to take a bit more than 5 minutes, ideally 10. Do you know the average is 15 to 20 minutes to fall asleep? That's actually the norm. If it's anything above 10, I think you're in safe territory. So If your child's falling asleep too quickly, they're going down too drowsy and are therefore going to rely on that help to get to sleep when they wake in the night. So a bit more awake when they go in is the answer. A real common one with this is feeding to sleep. So if you find that your child is falling asleep on that feed, on the last feed of the day, then that's when they're going to rely on that feed to come back every time they wake in the night. So keep them awake on the feed. If you're breastfeeding and they seem to be nodding off, unlatch, sit them up a bit, see if they want any more, but make sure they go down awake. Another thing with that waking frequently in the night that I want to address is, I've just told you how you can handle that and hopefully overcome that. But the other thing is to try and prevent it even happening in the first place. So when those wakings occur, you want to go in, soothe, get him back to sleep, not feed him back to sleep, not rock him back to sleep, you know, help him to get back to sleep himself. So you can stay with him, shush him, soothe him, calm him. But the other reason why those frequent wakings could be happening could be because he's overtired. So have a look at the daytime naps as well. They are often the key. If he's not at 6 months, he should be taking 3 naps. He should be doing really about 3.5 hours of total daytime sleep, maybe a bit more, certainly no less. So if he's not getting 3.5 hours over the course of 3 naps, he could be overtired, and overtiredness makes it trickier sometimes for him to settle at bedtime. It causes increased night wakings, and it's a big cause of early rising. Early rising is, I call anything before 6. So definitely have a look at that. Daytime naps, that could be your key. That could be your key. And of course, not having him awake for too long of a stretch in one go. So from the afternoon nap, when he, you know, his 3rd nap, till bedtime, if that's too long, he's going to get overtired, and then that's going to cause this frequent night waking, possibly early rising. If you haven't got early rising yet, you might be on your way to it, I'm afraid. So definitely the overtiredness thing, look at the naps, bedtime, make sure he's not going down too drowsy, and hopefully that will help with the frequent night wakings. Definitely don't get into a habit of feeding back to sleep though. That's a real common mistake that's made. If your child is hungry in the night, of course, feed a hungry baby, but frequent wakings won't be hunger every time, that's for sure. I'm going to go to another question now. My son suffers with night terrors and the doctor says he'll grow out of it. Is this something I can do anything about? Yes, actually it is something you could do something about. And I'm not surprised the doctor said, it's probably a GP, and they mean well, but he probably doesn't have the specialist knowledge about sleep to be able to advise you. So it's an easy way out. Yeah, grow out of it. Yeah, thanks. So let me give you something a bit more useful than that. First of all, for anyone else listening that might be thinking, oh, what's a night terror? Let me explain what a night terror is. It's really known in toddler and preschool sort of age as a confusional arousal. Night terror technically is sort of pre-adolescent age, but still we're talking about the same thing here. So what it is, it's when your child wakes. It's not a nightmare. A nightmare is a bad dream, and that is when, you know, something frightens you or you feel upset. You wake up from it because it makes you wake. You can go in and comfort your child and they might be a bit upset, and then, you know, they go back to sleep. That's very different. A night terror or confusional arousal, the characteristics are, if you go to your child, they're likely to not really be very clear on who you are or that you're there. They almost look like they're looking through you, and that can be quite spooky for parents. Let me just tell you, as a parent, night terrors and confusion arousal, they're a lot worse for us to see than they are for the child. So whilst your child might be thrashing around, they can hit out, kick out, they can say quite disturbing things like, no, stop it, and really kind of disturbing language can come out. It's much worse for us to watch. They have no memory of them in the morning, absolutely no memory of them. They can last anywhere between 5 and 15, 20 minutes, and they can recur. You can have a few of them. They're most common in the first couple of hours of sleep. Sometimes they can happen a bit later, but most commonly they happen in the first few hours when they're in the deepest sleep. And a big, it's the culprit of everything, a big cause of them is overtiredness. So once again, you know, if your child is having them all the time, there's a chance that they're running on a bit of an empty sleep tank. And again, my own son, he's had a few in the past. He hasn't had any for a while, but I recognise them and have been there as a parent and seen what they're like, and it's not pleasant. They don't usually scream. They can scream, that can happen, but screaming isn't a necessary feature for it to classify as a night terror. They may just seem upset. You might get some whinging. And actually what's going on is it's when the brain is kind of fighting, and it's halfway between awake and asleep. So they're partially asleep and they're partially awake, and there's this kind of clash going on, which is why it causes this very bizarre look, really. That looking through you thing is quite weird. You could say something to your child and the response might be completely irrelevant, and it's because they're not really comprehending what you're saying. They might push you away. They might lash out at you. Don't take that personally. You're not really you in their mind at that time. So what can you do about it? Prevent it by trying to reduce or eliminate overtiredness, a couple of early nights, a nap in the day if they're still of that kind of age. Handle it by keeping an eye on your child. So obviously make sure that he's not going to hurt himself. If you want to go to the room and sit with him, that's fine, but you might just provoke it or, you know, agitate the situation. I would be inclined to maybe stay at the door or just outside the room, or if you have a video monitor, just monitor the situation until it passes. If you try to really, you know, reassure or break the situation, it really doesn't help. It doesn't help, and if anything, it will prolong it. So my advice is just don't intervene unless you have to. Obviously, if your child is in danger of really hurting themselves, then you might have to go and do what I call the hug hold. So that's, you know, you go to them and you a very firm hug hold so that they feel tight and secure in your arms, and then that's where they stay until they're nice and calm. But they might push off and not like that. So the best thing to do, monitor it. Yeah, just watch it through, make sure that they're safe, and it will pass. But yeah, try and avoid it by sorry, just checking questions coming in. Try and avoid it by making sure that overtiredness is not banking up. It's most likely to be because of that, most likely. Okay, questions are flying in here, and I want to make sure I try and get as many done as I can. So many. Okay, 18-month-old little girl still wants to use a dummy. I'm worried that it will damage her teeth. Any tips on how to wean off it? First thing I'm going to say to you is you can't wean the dummy. Much as people might like to think you can, you can't wean the dummy. It's there or it's not there. That's the thing with a dummy. Some people start by saying, well, we'll just use it for sleep time. At 18 months, that's not going to work. At 18 months, you know, she's a toddler. She's heading into that sort of 2-year-old bit as well, where they just become really stubborn and demanding, and they like to push the boundaries. So tips to wean it is don't wean it. Decide when it's going to go, and it goes cold turkey, gone. And I'll tell you a little bit about how you can do that in a second. But in terms of being worried about it damaging their teeth, yeah, you're absolutely right. And not just that, it can hinder speech as well. Lots of little ones at that age, they start trying to talk with it in the mouth, or it's kind of hanging out the side, and it doesn't help them. So just go for it. At 18 months, it's serving no purpose now. It serves a purpose for the first few months, maybe up to 6 months, but after that, it really doesn't have much benefit. So I would go for it. Be brave. Do it today and then drop me an email. But here's how you can do it. to have a conversation about it. She will understand. She might not be able to communicate everything back to you, but she will understand. So just talk to her, explain that the dummies are anything like going to the dummy fairies, or you could say there's some new babies now that need the dummies, little babies. You're a big girl, you don't need this anymore. Any sort of story you want to make up is fine. Tell her a little story. I would suggest that you have some kind of prize, gift, reward, something that you can insert at that moment, so that whilst you break the bad news, the dummies have gone, you can then go, but for being very brave about this big occasion, we have got you this, I don't know, new toy, new teddy, something that will make her think, okay, well, look, for being brave and not having the dummy anymore, I've got this thing. And you know, it can help. It can help because it's a distraction. It makes them feel proud, and then when they bring it up a day later or whenever and say, oh yeah, something about the dummy, you can actually point out the new thing, the new toy, the new whatever, and say, but you've got this now. So it's not just that everything's gone, something's arrived. It just kind of weighs things up a bit. This is quite nice. So yeah, mention that then they're not going to be around anymore. Let her know that. She may cry, she may, I remember telling my son this and his face crumbled as if like somebody had died, but he was over it, and that night he slept through soundly. So we as parents rely on them more than they do. I think we're more scared about the dummy going than the child is half the time. So yeah, just go for it, cold turkey. I suggest you throw them out, literally take them outside, put them in the bin. Make sure there are none left in the house, so she's not going to find one behind the sofa. You're not going to grab one from a drawer in the middle of the night or at 5 a.m. when you're at your most groggy and you just can't take it and think, oh, sod it, have the dummy. So just make sure they're gone. There's no temptation, because if you go through this and then at 5 a.m. or if she's having a meltdown one afternoon and you just think, oh, fine, have it. All you're going to do is teach her that you're just teaching her to hold out. If she cries hard enough, holds up long enough, you're going to give her the dummy back. And it's kind of mean. Why would you do that to your child? So it's either there or it's gone. Make the decision to do it, bite the bullet, go for it. Jump on into my Facebook page, share, I'll support you through it. That you can join the Sleep Centre. So it's facebook.com/sleep centre, I think, or groups/sleep centre. That's join there. That's my support group where loads of parents ask questions, support each other. You'll find you're not the only one going through it, so it's quite nice to have that around you. Make sure you've got some support and go for it is the best advice I can give you. And definitely do it now. Do it now, you won't regret it. I'm going to go to another question quickly. Now, this is about a 5-year-old, so we're at the higher end of the scale because I work with little ones up to age 6. So a 5-year-old waking up at 4 a.m, classic early rising, and it's horrible that. So without doing an assessment specifically on your child, on your 5-year-old, which might give me a few more clues and a bit more detail, the first thing I'm going to jump on, and this, I'd hedge my bets that this is a big contributor, might not be the be all and end all, but a big contributor of that problem is likely to be overtiredness. It is the #1 cause of early rising. So at 5, it's tricky, that he's probably past napping in the day. I mean, they usually are, and they have to be by then because they're at school. But that said, some little ones do still really need that little bit of sleep. If he's waking at 5 every day and he's going to bed at, let's say, 7, it is quite a long day. So obviously you can't add in a nap. So what I would suggest you do is, for a good week to 2 weeks, consistently put him or her to bed an hour earlier than you currently are. Or if it's already quite late, make sure it's at 7 at the latest. If it's already 7, make it 6. And I know that sounds horrendously early. It's a short-term thing. If you do it every day, hopefully then she or he will catch up on some sleep, start sleeping later, and then by starting the day at 6 or 7 in the morning, then she or he will manage to make it through to more like 7 for bedtime, and it will level back out. So in the short term, early to bed, definitely. Another thing you could use as an aid, an assistant to this, well, there's 2 things actually. One is a reward system, and one is a wake up and sleep clock. I haven't got one to hand. My favourite clock, loads of people have got the Grow clock, which is great, and a 5-year-old probably can understand the Grow clock perfectly well. But for anyone with younger ones, I want to just explain. I like the clocks. They're made by Kids Sleep. If you visit my website, sleepnanny.co.uk, go to the products page, you will see a link on there to this clock. It's got a rabbit on it. There's a cow one, a bear, a bunny, there's all different ones. The rabbit I like, he's in bed in one half, and he's up with his backpack on in the sunshine in the other half of the clock. And you set the timer, of course, and in our house the kids both have them, and they're set to wake up at 7. So we've installed in them since they were 20 months old. When Rabbit's asleep, you're asleep, you're in your bed, you stay in your bed till Rabbit gets up. When Rabbit gets up, you can get up, it's fine. And because they've had this ingrained in them, they abide by the clock. So if you do introduce a clock, you've got to stick to it too. You can't go, okay, it's only 5 more minutes. Yeah, just get up now. If Rabbit is in bed, the child stays in bed, even if you have to stay there in the room with them and wait till the clock changes and then let them get up. It's fine. But if you're going to do the clock thing, you've got to take it seriously. Otherwise, your child won't take it seriously. It's a great aid. The clocks are great. They're not a solution on their own. So don't think, oh yeah, just get this clock and my problems have gone away. There's more to it than that, but it is helpful. I also like these Rabbit and Bunny and whatever, the Kids Sleep clocks, because it's like a little companion, you know, it's like a little cartoon character companion. Look, that's my rabbit. My kids say that. One of them says, oh, your rabbit's in bed. Oh, my rabbit's in bed too. And, you know, they talk about it all the time. So it's a little companion, a little buddy for them in their room. The Grow clock does the same thing, and I know the Grow clock kind of counts down as well, although it's either up or it's down, so that's not really necessary. The thing with the Grow clock as well, they do need to be a bit older, and you know, the cognitive understanding that the sun and the yellow or orange and the stars and the blue mean something, so they're relying on shapes and colors to understand what that means and what that's supposed to do. So there's another level of understanding that has to come in for that to really be useful. So I do like the other ones, to be fair. You can understand those from about 19-20 months roughly. That's a good time to introduce that sort of thing to your child if you're not there yet. So note that one down for later if you've got a little one. So let me get back on my thread. So that's something else you can use to help with early rising. Set it for wake up time and train your child that, no, you must stay in bed until then. And then you can add in a reward for that. So a sticker chart, that's, you know, it could be a sticker each day that they manage to stay in bed until the rabbit's up, or, you know, the clock says so. So you could do that, and you could have maybe a little prize if they get all the stickers that week, something like that. Incentivize. So that's another added thing you can do along with that. Right, I'm gonna move along because we're already about 45 minutes in now. So newly single dad, 3-year-old keeps getting into my bed. I know he's been upset over mum and I break up. How do I stop this? Okay, yeah, so that's a delicate situation. It's different, things have changed, and yeah, it's different. Mummy and daddy aren't both around at the same time anymore, and the family dynamic has changed slightly. So yeah, you do need to handle little ones with care in that situation, because there's a lot going on in their mind and you want to reassure. But a bit like when they're poorly, try and explain to parents not to overcompensate. So you don't want to get stuck in that situation of you know, almost wrapping them in cotton wool because something has happened. I know this happened in my own family as children, because our father passed away and my younger brother was quite young, and you know, my mum was in danger of just letting him do anything and just try to make everything better because he'd lost his dad, and that's a big deal. So don't overcompensate. Reassure, respond, but still have nice clear boundaries. It would be brilliant if you and his mum can be on the same page with that. So whatever you're doing when he's with you, she'll do when he's with her, so that he doesn't get different treatment. So if you are able to communicate on that level and agree something, if he's getting up and coming in with you and that's, you know, becoming a problem and it's disturbing sleep, then just return him to his bed. Return him silently. You're not going to be in any way cross with him. You're not angry with him. Just, you know, a quick kiss, guide him back to bed, night night, and leave the room. If your plan is to get him staying in his bed, if you're happy to have him in with you, that's fine. It's not a problem. Might become a problem later, but if it's not a problem, fine. But if you're saying, no, I want him to stay in his bed, return him. No fuss, no negotiating, no conversation about it. It's not a big adventure. It's not a big to-do. It's just, here we go, back to bed. There you are. And then leave the room. If that's a bit traumatic and he's not ready to be left alone, you could put him in his bed and then just sit by the door. Just sit there, no communication. You can even just drop your head, you know, look kind of sleepy like, and just a little shh, 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 you know, shushing, whisper night night, or whisper lay down. Don't talk in full voice, don't stimulate. Very, 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 very dull and boring is how you want to be, so that it's not exciting to come and get daddy up. Because if it's exciting, you'll keep doing it. You want it to be, you kind of want it to be such a way that he thinks, well, there's no point, you know. Like I said though, you're not going to be negative, you're not going to be cross, you're not going to tell him off for it. You're just neutral. You're just not really giving him any kind of reaction for it. Just back to bed, back in bed. It can be really laborious and repetitive for the first week or so. You might find that you're actually putting him back, and you think, God, I'm getting less sleep. It gets worse before it gets better. You know, yes, the quicker fix might be to say, yeah, come in my bed and we'll both sleep much more that night. In the short term, that's true. But it might be that you need to just kind of go through that pain barrier and have a week or so of what they call rapid return or silent return, getting him back to bed, and just endure it, but it will pay off. So that's my advice to trying to help him stay in his own bed. That goes for any situation, and lots of reassurance, obviously, because of the parent breakup there. Maybe some extra praise and indulgence come morning when it is time to be up. Let's have lots of cuddles and lots of connective time, you know. Put your phone away, put everything else away, and just one-on-one, just play a game, do a puzzle, just really, you know, read a book together, to really bond, so he feels that sort of security and connection. I hope that helps. I've got another one here. Expecting my first baby, when should I start a sleep routine? Good question. And what's your advice on co-sleeping? We've just sort of touched on that, well, toddlers coming in your bed thing. So that's actually two questions there, really good questions that I think a lot of people would like the answer to. So I'm going to go through both of those separately for you. First of all, oops, my mouse is just, there we go. Right, so first of all, sleep routine. Expecting the first baby, when to start a sleep routine. You can start a bedtime routine as early as 1 to 2 weeks if you want to. Very basic and very quick at that age. But I would recommend that you do have one in place by about 6 weeks. So it's quite young. That doesn't need to be, you know, a really in-depth routine. It's just steps. It's just steps being in the same order every night. So the whole point of that is just, it's rhythm. You know, you're getting that rhythmicity, and it's setting cues, it signals that you're that bedtime's coming. So first of all, yeah, if it is at 1 to 2 weeks even, you may dip them in the bath and out again, because that's all a bath is really when they're that tiny, you know, a couple of weeks old. It's literally like little dip and out. You may or may not have that bath bit. It's fine, you can. Get them all snuggled up, get them all ready and dressed for bed, you know, nappies done, all of that stuff's done. They're going to be feeding at that age before bed, so that's absolutely fine. Don't get hung up or worried or paranoid about, oh, I mustn't feed my baby to sleep. Whilst that is something I would say to you several months down the line, I would go, don't feed your baby to sleep. It's okay in the early weeks. There's so much pressure on new parents to not feed to sleep and to not rock to sleep and all those sorts of things. And I was actually talking to somebody this morning about this, and it almost starves us as mothers of our natural instincts to do these things. You know, we're programmed to rock our babies and sing lullabies and feed them. So don't feel like you can't do that. Don't feel, you know, there's so much pressure. Don't do this, don't do that. You'll regret it later. Bad habits, bad habits. None of that applies in the first few months. Around 4 or 5 months, you want to maybe start thinking about changing that a bit. And at 6 months, I would certainly look at getting them into a better rhythm and not feeding to sleep and those sorts of things. But in those very early weeks and first few months, it's not a problem. You can get out of that easily a few months down the line. If you want to start practicing things like putting your baby down, not quite asleep, that's fine, and you can practice and let them get familiar with going into their crib or Moses basket or whatever your baby's in, going in awake, having a little kick around. They might cry because they're just really tired and want you to put them to sleep, and you might have to pick up, they'll cuddle, put down again. You might do that a couple of times, and then you might say, all right, fine, I'm going to give you a little rock and then put you down to sleep. It's okay. That bit of practice will go a long way. The whole pick up, put down thing, it seems pointless when you're doing it. You think, well, why am I doing this? It's not making things any better. It does. It does help. It's really good practice. It helps your baby get familiar and happy with being in their own sleep space, even if it's just for a few seconds. And they know that you're there and that you come back. So practice is great. The routine though, yeah, from as early as 1 to 2 weeks, definitely by 6 weeks. And as I've said before, just make sure you're doing the same steps in the same order every night. Go into their room or your room. They're probably in your room at this early stage. Finish the bedtime routine there. As I said, it's rhythmicity, it's repetitive, and it's cueing your baby that sleep time's coming. Brilliant thing to get started with as early as you want. And what's my advice on co-sleeping? So co-sleeping is, again, another controversial subject, and there are all sorts of people have all kinds of opinions on it, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion on it. My advice is, if you're going to do it safely. So do read up on the current sort of safety guidelines, because it's just devastating to think of what can happen if co-sleeping is not done safely. So that doesn't bear thinking about. So make sure if you do co-sleep, you do it safely. Number one, most important rule. Make sure you're doing it through choice. So you've made that choice. It's really important to think this through. You know, the whole family bed thing. Think it through. Are you doing it because you're clutching at straws and you just don't know what to do? Or is it something you're actually quite happy and willing and want to do? And also, are you prepared to do it for the foreseeable? You know, because it's not something you can do one night, not another night. You can't really do the whole, I want my child to sleep in their own bed, or own cot, or own Moses basket, even if that's at the end of your bed. But come 5 a.m, fine, they can just come in my bed. That's a classic one. It's when we're most tired, most groggy, we just want to go back to sleep, and it can seem like the path of least resistance. Just put baby in my bed with me, go to sleep, everyone sleeps. The downside to that is, as your child gets older, they don't understand time. They don't know why it's okay after 5 and not before. They've no idea. So in their head, all they get from that is, it's a possible outcome, and I know it happens sometimes. And so that's all they know. It's intermittent reinforcement. You're reinforcing the fact that it is okay with you. you have a set of rules as to when it's okay with you. Baby doesn't understand that. They just know that it is okay. So maybe they have to cry harder for it. Maybe they have to wait longer for it. Maybe they have to cry and wait and just push the buttons harder for it. So it's either okay or it's not okay. You need to decide that. It's either something you're willing to do or you're not willing to do. And if you are, it needs to be okay anytime. It can't be okay at a certain time in the night. You'll get on much better if you have those sort of parameters with co-sleeping. And also have a plan in the back of your mind. If you decide to co-sleep, how long are you planning on doing that for? I would recommend that you start working your way out of that at somewhere between 3 and 6 months, or at 6 months. But if you, or just do it for the first few weeks if you want to. If you're thinking about it long term, or if you're thinking, oh, I don't know really, we'll just see how it goes, your child won't willingly give up your bed. They won't just go one day, oh, actually, I'm ready to go into my bed now. Well, they might, but they'll probably be 6 or 7 years old by then. So unless you're in it for the long haul, and that's fine. If that's what you want, no problem. But if you're thinking, no, it's a short-term thing, that's fine. Have in mind, how long are you thinking of doing this for, and work out a plan to transition them from co-sleeping to their own bed or their own room when the time is right. Because it will be a transition. You can't just suddenly go, right, that's it, from today onwards, you're going to go in your room now. You've slept in my bed for the last 10 months, but now you're going in your room. Because that's going to be a big change for your baby. So have a plan for that transition to make that a gradual or a gentle thing. So definitely my best advice for co-sleeping is think it through. Think it through, have a conversation with your partner about it, and just decide and know what you're doing before you do it, really. So hopefully that helps on the co-sleeping front. I think we've probably got time for about one more. What's this one? Let's have a look. So I had a sleep breakthrough 2 weeks ago, brilliant, with a 14-month-old. Now we're back to where we were before. Keeps waking up, crying, crying and won't go back to sleep. Sorry. Please help. Feel like we're going backwards. Okay, this happens quite a lot. I see this sometimes. You kind of resolve the current issue, things get better, and then they come unraveled again. So I'm not sure what you did that got you that breakthrough, and I don't know what's going on exactly. So wakes up crying and won't go back to sleep. So going into this a bit blindly here, but I'm going to do my best to help you. If he's crying and won't go back to sleep, it's probably, have a look at what you're doing when you respond to those wakings. What did you do initially? When you had this breakthrough, what changed? What did you try something? Did you implement some kind of method or technique? Did you treat the wakings differently? I don't know, or was it just fluke? Did it just suddenly get better, and you didn't do anything, and you've done everything the same all the time, and it just got really good, and now it's gone bad again? Either way, if there's crying and struggling to go back to sleep, you want to look at two things. How is your child getting to sleep at bedtime? And how are you responding when he wakes in the night? The two go hand in hand. So whatever's happening at bedtime, if you're doing too much to get him to sleep, he's going to rely on that help to get back to sleep in the night. So it might mean that you need to do a little bit less, need to help him really refine the skill of settling himself to sleep at bedtime. That might be your first step. As he gets better at doing that and is able to settle himself to sleep, he'll be able to then put himself back to sleep when he wakes in the night without needing your help or intervention. That's not an overnight quick thing. It takes a bit of time. It takes a lot of consistency. So work out what you're going to do, what you're going to do at bedtime, how you're going to respond. Make sure your response to those night wakings is the same every single time, so that whether that's at 10, 2, 3, 5, any time in the night between bedtime and 6 at least, because that's nighttime. Up until 6 a.m. is nighttime, by the way. So make sure your response is exactly the same every time. That kind of consistency every night is what's going to help you get there. So I hope that helps. I can't really be more specific without knowing a bit more detail on that, but hopefully that will help you. And yes, you can send me a message on Facebook. That's absolutely fine. I have got a support group that you can post questions in. It's facebook.com/groups/sleep center, spelled the English way, CENTRE. So yeah, that's a Facebook group. So it's more interactive on the group, obviously, because you can post on the thread there. So do jump on there, and on the page is fine as well. Absolutely, of course you can. And also Danielle is there with the questions. If you want to, I don't know if you have already, but if you grab a copy of my book today, launch day today, and between now and 2 p.m, anybody that buys a copy in that time window, all you've got to do is email your proof of purchase to support@sleepnanny.co.uk, pop that through on the email to us, and you will be sent a link to get 3 whole months of free membership in my members club, the Sleep Nanny Circle. 3 months of membership. I mean, it's so valuable. You might find that you're working on tips in the book that you've picked and worked out a strategy to work through something that suits your child. You may have filled in the unique sleep plan that I've put in the back of the book, so you can actually fill in the blanks at this bit in the back. And you might get through that and have some questions and think, oh, you know, I'm sure you've done it before, picked up a book and gone, I wish I could ask the author something. You can ask me questions, because if you're a member, we have regular calls and you bring your questions onto the call and you can ask me directly. So by buying the book today between 10 and 2 p.m, you get 3 whole months of membership, and I'll be able to answer your questions one-on-one, one-on-one. I'll be able to answer you directly. You'll be able to talk directly to me on the members calls. So it's a really valuable offer that I'm giving away just today. So please do grab that offer while you can. Right, we do need to wrap up, so I'm just going to quickly scan for any other quick ones I can answer, because some of them are a lot more long-winded, although I make everything long-winded because I like to be thorough. Let me just see if they've got anything else, or any of my team shouting at me. No, I don't think we have anything on there. So if I haven't got to your question, I do apologise. I think I've covered as many as I can. I think we've covered a nice range as well of different ages. We've gone from newborns to 5-year-olds, and a whole range of things there. So hopefully that's helped you all. We have gone way over time, as I knew we would. So yeah, do join me in the Facebook page, the Facebook group, Sleep Centre. Don't forget about the book today, of course, because this whole event, this whole party we've just had here has been all about the book launch, which I really want you to have this. My mission really is to make family life with young children happier, because I was really stressed at times, and life's too short for that. You know, you want to be happy, you want to be patient with your children, you want to really enjoy them. They're not young for long. With one going off to school this week, it's just made me realise how quickly that time really goes. So you want to make the most of that time, really enjoy it. And you can't do that when you're walking around in this fuzz, blur head. And I know I saw a mother with a young baby recently, and I said to my mum, you look at mums like that and I think, wow, what a wonderful time. And I remember I used to crave that before I had children. And actually, you just spend the first year or so in a daze because you're tired. And if I can make that better, and if I can help people enjoy that to the full by helping them get better sleep all round for the whole family, then my work is done. My mission is complete. So please do spread the word, share, grab the book, and let me know how you get on. I would love to know how I'm helping people, what I can do to help you more. So stay in touch, jump on Twitter, jump on Facebook, and keep me posted. So I think that's everything. I think that's all we've got time for right now. I think are we out of time? I think we are. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, I look forward to catching up with you all on Facebook and things. I'll see you all really soon. Thanks very much. Bye.